Okay, Dr. Helagamar. We left off yesterday, I believe, on Memvavam days, about halfway down if anybody remembers, were we up to Amar Bishul Levi or did we get further? Yeah, we got much further. So I'm going to start from Amar Bishul Ben Levi. I think that's where we got in the morning. Amar Bishul Ben Levi. Hamhalach b'derech ve'ein loy levaya. And he doesn't have someone to be malav him. Yasik b'Torah should learn Torah. Shenemar ki liv yaschein heim l'rishecha. Torah is like an escort of chen. Va'anokim l'gargar secha. And like a chain around your neck. The Rambam B'Shuv Ben Levi, B'Shvil Arba Siyash, Shalava Pari Lavrom, because of the 4 steps that Pari was Malav Avrom, Shenemar, B'Tzav Olav Pari Anoshim. Pari wasn't even personally Malav Avrom, but he arranged for people to be Malav him. And we assume that it was at least 4 Siyash. Nishtabed B'Bonav, that gave the Koyach to Pari to be Mishabed, the children of Avram, Arba Me'ashana, Shenemar Vavadim Vinois Ma'abar Me'ashana. If you're malava him 4 amis, Einay Nizak, Rashi says Einay Nizak is referring to the traveler. Ravina Avila Rabba Bar Yitzchak Dal Ramas Be'er Motl Yod Ezeka V'Yitzchak. Ravina was malava Rabba Bar Yitzchak. Rabba Bar Yitzchak came into a dangerous situation, but he was saved. Why? The Gemara is attributing it to the fact that he had Levi, had Levaya. Tanar Rabban. Harav Talmud. How far must a Rav be alive as Talmud? Adi Bur Shalir to the edge of the city. Chaver lechaver at Chum Shabbos. Talmud l'Rav ein lo shir. And in every Jewish way, no shir. V'kaman hala. How far is that? Rav Sheshes at Parsa. V'loy aman ala Rabbi she'enim muvik. If it's a regular Rabbi, you have to go up Parsa. Rabbi muvik shalosh shlosha b'sois. Rav Kahana avei lo Simi bar Ashi mipum nahar vad beitz anis the Bavel. He begleit him from Pum Nahar until Beit Nisa, which is like a little oasis where there were palm trees growing. When he got there, he said, Didn't you tell us? Didn't you tell us? So Rav Kahana told Rav Shimi, didn't you tell us that this patch of palm trees are since the times of Adam Rishon? Amalei. So Rav Shimi Barashi answered, At Karta, now you're reminding me of Milsa Dam Rabbi Yosy bar Chanina. I never said that these trees, these actual trees, were here since you met Adam Rishon. Rather, what it means is something else. As follows: it says in the pasuk, no one ever passed by there, and not only that, no one stayed there. Correct? The Gemara, that pasuk doesn't make sense. If no one ever passed by, surely no one stayed there. Ella, what it means is not only did Adam Rishon name each animal, he actually identified every square inch of the world, if it's going to be inhabited, if it's going to be built up, or not. And the Eretz Shalagozer Adam Rishon Lo Nisyash. Therefore, this is how you read the pasuk. You know why no one ever went there? Because Adam Sham. Because Adam Rishon didn't designate that this area will be booked up, will be built up. So too, when I said that these Beis Nizda Bavel are from Adam Rishon, I didn't mean that these trees are actually growing since the time of Adam Rishon. I meant that Adam Rishon declared back then, at the beginning of the creation, that these trees would grow here one day. Rav Mordechai Alvil Rabashi Me'agrunya Vad Bekipi. He escorted him from Agrunya to Bekipi, Ramila Ad Beit Dura. Amar B'Yechid Mishum Meir Kol She'enim Melava U'Mislava. If someone is not Melava and he's supposed to, and he doesn't let someone be Melava him, he says, no, don't, okay, you stay home, I'll go by myself. That's Ki'ilu Shoifech Domim. Now, the Mashah says another part of Mislava is if someone didn't have an escort. The Gemara told us a moment ago, what is your plan B? Your plan B is to learn Torah. If someone is not mislava, if someone who doesn't learn Torah, if he's by himself, then it's ki'ilu shoyfech damim shel mali livu anshi yirichil alisha. There's a story where Elisha left the city, and they were youth who were angry at him. Why were they angry at him? Because when he came to that city earlier, that city didn't have drinking water. And Elisha was able to break a nace that there should be drinking water there. Who would be upset about it? The people who sold drinking water. Because they would import drinking water from other cities, and they made a nice little fortune. Elisha dried up their parnas overnight. So when he left the city, they had shepherded him. And because they shepherded Elisha, he sent his sick bears on them, and many children were killed. But had Elisha been escorted out of the city, then those people who harassed Elisha would never have harassed him, because Elisha would have been escorted by the greats to the city. So had he been escorted, it would have saved the lives of those children that he killed, or that he caused to get killed. So Elisha was going from the city of Yericho to Beisel. Who Allah Baderach, he was going on the road. Na'arim Katanim is a little bit of an unusual lashon, because Na'arim are youth, Katanim are even younger than that. Yotzum in the ear came out of the city. Vayiskalsuboy, normally kills as a compliment. Here Vayiskalsu means they're chaffering him. Vayarmu alei kereach, the Baldi's leaving. Get out of here, Baldi. Amrulai, they told him, alei leave. Shekrachta aleinu esamokim. You made our business krach. Our whole business krach because of you. I don't think that's really a pshat. I think it means you made bald our business. In other words, we lost all our business. Na'arim katanim. Na'arim and katanim are two words that are sort of mutually exclusive. Omar Belazar, it doesn't mean Na'arim in age. It means Sheminu Arim in our mitzvahs. They're completely empty from mitzvahs. Kitanim, they're mekatnei amona. They thought the Rabban Shalom can't give them parnasa because they didn't sell water. They could have had a different parnasa. They're really youth who bizbuzu atzim kitanim, but they humiliated themselves by behaving in this fashion like little children. Maskav Rabbi Yosy. Maybe Na'arim means they were from the city of Na'arim. Milak Siv, don't we find that there is such a city? It says, V'aram Yatsu Gedudim, V'yeshu Me'eretz Yisrael, V'yishu Me'eretz Yisrael, they captured from Me'eretz Yisrael Naira Ketana. And the Gemara asks, V'kashla Naira Ketana, how could a girl be both a Naira and a Ketana? V'amar Pudas, Ketana de Min Urin. She was a Ketana from the city of Neurin. Maybe over here it's the same thing. So the Gemara, of course not. Hasam, Lei Mefarish Mekayma. There it's never talking about the project never tells us where she was from. So the Naira could be identifying where she's coming from, where she came from. But Hacha, here it says Mefezer from Yericho. Hacha Mefurish Mekayman. I'm sorry, Mefurish Mekayman, we know they're from Yericho. So they're not from the Urim. So it must be that they're in the Urim, which the Gemara dashens as Minu Urim, Minu Mitzvahs. V'yivin Achara V'yarim. V'yikalim B'Shem Hashem. Elisha cursed them. My Ra, what do you mean he saw them? What does it mean he saw them? Amarav Ra Mamish. He glared at them. Glaring of a Talmud Chacham of a tzaddik can cause a lot of damage. It leads to death or to poor or becoming poor, meaning the glare of a tzaddik is dangerous. Shmuel Amar Ra means differently. Ra Shakulan is Abra ben Iman b'Yom Kippurim. These children, these people don't come from a good place. All of their lives were conceived on Yom Kippur through Abiyah Asura. He saw a chup, like the Mariam. Interesting, he saw a chup, they called him Kerech, they called him a baldi. So he said, they didn't even have the moisture of a mitzvah. They had no shaykhs to mitzvahs. They're so removed from mitzvahs. Correct the Gemara, how could he curse them that they should die? Maybe one of their descendants will have mitzvahs. Amar Belazar, he saw that loibam v'loi bezarim at soy paladayos, so therefore he could eliminate him. There's Urim Katan. There's a Katan Mana, and the Urim and the mitzvahs. Zog the Gemara about the Tena, Shtayim Doivim in the Yar. Two I don't know. Maybe because they didn't have mitzvahs yet. Maybe referring to the same thing. Okay, so let's see the Gemara about it. Because the Gemara says like you're doivim l'tzinoiker. So here, break the Gemara v'tetzena shtayim doivim in a yar vativka ena mehem, and it ripped apart our boyim u'shnei yolodim. It wasn't just a few; it was 42 children were ripped apart. Rav Shmuel. There's a machlokes in Rav and Shmuel how to understand this passage. Chadam nes, it was a nes, meaning there shouldn't have been a bear there, and a bear showed up. The bear showed up. The chadam nes b'toich nes, that not only was a nest that a bear was there. Where is normally a bear found? In the forest. Hashem made it there was a forest there. It was an urban area, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu made there should be a forest there. Man the Amar nes, someone who says it was a nes, Yar Hava, there was already a forest. Doivim lo yavu. And that means nes lo yar hava v'lo doivim hava. Practically more. Why do I need such a nes? What do I need a yar? I need the bears. Hava doivim v'lo lava yar. The more easy because they would be afraid. Rashi says the bears would be afraid to attack people in an urbanized place because they're more comfortable in the forest. Practically the Rishonim, I don't understand. So the Revolution could have made a nes that the bears shouldn't be afraid. The teretz is even when the Rebbeinu makes a nes, the Rebbeinu tries to make the nes should also fit in b'derech hatem. Be making a bear go connected to teva. The other pshat in the Beisi is fakert. If there wouldn't have been a yar, then the kids would have seen the bear from far away, wouldn't have been concealed in the forest, so they would have ran away. These 42 children got killed. That caused that Klal Yisrael. These 42 karbanos that Balak, Melech Moav brought with the story of Bilam, that caused it that Huvku Yisrael Arboim Mishnayim Liyodim. Right, the Gemara. It's in that schus that these children were killed. Any of you, Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rab, La'olam Yasek Odom B'Torah U'B'Mitzvos Yachal Shaloi L'Shema Shemitah Shaloi L'Shema Bala Shema. Why? Because Balak definitely didn't bring these karbanos L'Shema. He brought these karbanos because he wanted to curse Klal Yisrael. Nevertheless, Shebeschar Arboim Mishnayim Karbanos Shigah Balak Melech Moav Zachav Yatzis in the menu Rus. Balak was Zoicha that Rus, the mother of Klal Yisrael, the mother of the Malchus, she yatzim imenu Shloimeh Melech came out of her. She Kasav Bey Elef Oilois Yala Shloimeh. So he brought 42 karbanos, and he was Zoicha to have a grandchild that would bring 1,000 karbanos. V'amr Rabbi Yosy ben Chuni, Rus bita shel Egloin. Rus was the daughter of Egloin, who was in turn b'noi shel Balak Haisa. So how could you say that that's why the 42 children were killed? Sure, the schus was that he had Rus as an einikel, but Lamaita he wanted to curse Klal Yisrael. The Klal Hava Lamaita is Yisrael, but Oysa Kavana Kadnas Kaiva, and his original Kavana to be Mamayit Klal Yisrael was Mekuyim through this story. But Yomer Anshe Yair El Elisha, when Elisha first came to the city, that we were talking about him leaving earlier. We're rewinding to when he first entered the city, and they told him, "Hine na Moshe Ve'ir Toy. This is such a beautiful city." Kasher Adoni Roya. Correct the Gemara b'Chibir Achar, the Mayim Royim, because they said this city is unbelievable. There's only a slight little problem. The water quality is not good, and because of that, people are dropping dead. So, Frank the Gemara, so it's not a good city then. B'Chibir Achar, the Mayim Royim Ve'er Mishakelas Alamatei Vata. So, what's good about it? Right? Did they have a good hockey team? Is that why it was such a good city? What was so good about the city? Omar Abchanan, it just teaches you, it could be over 50 years that they didn't win the Stanley Cup, and people still have this narish belief that maybe their team is going to win the Stanley Cup. People are blinded by the place that they are. There's 3 chains that are not logical. People love their city. Isha al Baila, a husband loves his wife, even though she might be ugly. And when someone buys something, it grows on him, he likes it. And there are those who say it's because is that the bas girl calls out bas ploni leploni, bayis ploni leploni. So therefore, Hakadosh Baruch Hu makes it that there should be a chen there because it's already nigzar from earlier that this is how it has to be. Elisha suffered three sicknesses, but only two were punishments. Which were the three? He suffered once because of the fact that he sicked the bears on them. They were deserving of misa, yes, but he didn't have to use such a brutal misa. He pushed Gechazi away with two hands. In other words, he was very harsh in his rejection of Gechazi. The third time he got sick is actually not a punishment, it's the sickness with which he succumbed and he died. And that's actually a chesed. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does a chesed. It's a chesed that someone gets sick before he dies. Why? Because then he gets a warning and he's able to do tshuva and settle his affairs. When you have to push away with your weaker hand, but you should always be mekarev with your stronger hand. Like Elisha, don't do like Elisha did. And there are those who say that this Talmud is Yoshka, but it's censored. Elisha Mahi. What happened by Elisha? What happened was Naaman had tzaras, and Elisha healed the tzaras, and Naaman wanted to give him a reward, and Elisha refused to take a reward. After Elisha left, the Gabba, Gechazi, told Naaman, yeah, we will take the reward. Give us the reward. And he got the reward, and Elisha saw that he got the reward, and Elisha pushed him away, rejected Gechazi, and he basically killed Gechazi. It led to his death and his demise. That's part of what happened, yeah. But that's the Gemara is going to be discussing that. Naaman, Hoyel, Kach, Kikrim. Naaman said, take Kikrim. Elisha didn't want. Then Elisha told Gechazi when he stopped that Gechazi took, Loi libi halach. You don't think I noticed? When Naaman turned around to come towards you, ha'es lokachas as a kesef, v'lakachta begodim v'zeitzim v'kromin v'toin v'bakav avodim v'shvagas. Correct the Gemara, he only took a little bit of silver and he took a little bit of begodim. Yet here it lists off 8 items: kesef, begodim, zeitzim, kromim, toin uvakar avodim v'shvagas. Umishakol kula. There were no 8 things. Hi kesef ubegodim udeshakol. That's all he took. Amar Yitzchak, ba'oisa shah. You know what sugya Elisha was saying Shiran and Naaman and Gechazi was listening to a shir? The sugya of Shemoyne Sherotzim. So that's why he listed off 8 things. Why did he list off 8 things? Amar Loi, Elisha told Gechazi, Rasha, rather than being zoichet of the schar of your amelis b'torah to be paid for in olam haba, you're going to get your schar now. What you took now is connected the 8 shrotzim that you should have a tzchar to learn, and therefore v'tzaras namon tidbach bach ubezarach ha'olam. You will always be inflicted with tzaras. And in fact, in the haftarah of Parshas Tezria Mitzayra, the laning is v'arba noshim hayim mitzayroyim. Who were these 4 people? Omer Rabbi Yochanan Gechazi u'shloishes banim. I guess so, yeah. V'yelech Elisha Damascus. Normally it says that he left the city that he was leaving from to go towards Damascus. It's not typical to write V'yelech Damascus. So the Gemara asks, why did Elisha go? After Elisha so sternly rejected Gechazi, he wanted to try to go bring him back. Gechazi refused to come back. Amalei told him, Chazarbach. He said, do tshuva. Elisha told his Talmud, come on, do tshuva, and you'll be back to where you were. Omar Loi, he threw the Rebbe's words back at him. Kach mikublali mimcha. Rebbe Elisha, we learned this from you. Kol mi shechata v'hechtios harabim. If someone did an aveira and he caused others to sin, ein maspikin biyadoi lasas tshuva, they don't give him the opportunity to do tshuva. Break the Gemara, how was Geichazi? Machtios harabim. My Abad, Ikud Amri Evan Shoy Evas Tolaloi Lachatas Yeravim. Yeravim wanted people to do Averis. So he made a getchke. He made a fake animal that he wanted people to serve. And he wanted to help give credence to this animal that was in the Avodah Zarah. So he bonded some metal plates to this getchke, and then he set up very powerful magnets that actually suspended this animal in midair. So it actually looked like this animal is floating in the air. Now that's something that's going to fool people into thinking that this animal has some type of power. So that caused people to do avodah zarah. He wrote the Shem Hashem on the mouth of this getchke, and it was saying, B'kedusha, it was saying, not I am God. No, he was saying the animal, the kedusha, because of the Shem, was saying HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Anochi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Lecha. But people who see that noise, that voice, that sound coming out of an animal, think that it's the Getchke himself was saying on himself Anochi, and that also misled many people. So Geichas, he said, "I'm a machtis harabim. There's no hope for me." Yikudamri Rabbanan Dochem Mekamei. This is an avah before Geichazi was sent packing. While he was working, while he was still with his Rebbe, he would not let people come to the yeshiva. In other words, he was like the Gabba, who didn't let people into the Rebbe when maybe the Rebbe himself wanted. How do you know? Because right after Geichazi was rejected, suddenly Elisha's yeshiva, its rank started to swell because there were no more gatekeepers. Elisha, after Geichas he left, it's very tight. We're squashed. There's not enough room. Why? Because Geichazi was a gatekeeper. So because he prevented people from coming to learn Torah, they weren't on a good madrega their whole life because they lost this opportunity, and that Geichazi considered to be Machtis Harabim. Yeshua ben Paracha Mai. What was the story where he was doich b'shtei yadayim? Mahi could have a kakotol Yanai Malka Rab Shimon ben Shetach when the Yanai Malka. I'm sorry. Could have a kakotol Yanai Malka Rabbanon when Yanai the Melech wanted to kill the Rabbanon. Shimon ben Shetach at Minu Achsei. Shimon ben Shetach, his sister was somehow connected to the king. She was the queen. Okay, that's why that's a good connection. And she hid her brother so that he shouldn't be killed by Yanai Melech. Reb Shua ben Parachia Ozal. Reb Shua ben Parachia went and he said he hit him, but Reb Shua ben Parachia he wasn't connected, so he ran for his life. Orek Alexandria Shel Mitzrayim. He ran away to Egypt. He have a shalom when things calmed down, and it was once again safe for Reb Shua ben Parachia to come back. And for Shimon ben Shetach to walk the streets, Shimon ben Shetach sent a letter to Reb Shua ben Parachia. This is what the letter said: Mini Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh. This letter is for me, Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh, as if Yerushalayim is writing the letter. Loch Alexandria Shel Mitzrayim. I'm writing a letter to you, Alexandria, Achosi, my sister, and this is what I'm writing. Baili, my husband, Shori B'Soichek, is amongst you, referring Reb Shua ben Parachia. And I'm sitting here desolate without my husband. Omar, when Reb Shua ben Parachia got this letter, Omar Shmami no Havale Shalma. Must be that it's safe to come back, so he came back. He also Ikla Lahu Shbiza. On the way he came with his Talmidim, he stayed over in a certain hotel. Kam Kamayu Biyakra. They gave him the greatest of respect there. They were Mechaber Talmud Chacham. Shapir Avdilay, or Kam Kamay Biyakra Shapir, or Shapir Avdilay Yakratuba. They made him great honor. Does the shopper go with the yakor or the shopper go with the avdi? How does the article say? But I know it means the grave giving great cover. I'm not sure if it's B'Yakra Shopper or Shop the Abdullah. I think it's B'Yakra Shopper. B'Yakra Shopper. They gave him great cover. Abdullah Yakra Tuba. So what happened was, as he complimented, okay. So he complimented his guest. Yosy v'kamashtaba kamanach san yuzu. You know how you say someone has beautiful midos? If you're from Australia, you say this girl is gorgeous. Gorgeous in Australian English doesn't mean that she's physically beautiful. It means that she has beautiful midas. That's what gorgeous is. So he said, this woman is gorgeous. I'm sorry? Oh, that's right. So one of the Talmidim says, call her gorgeous? Look at her eyes. Rebbe, how could you say that she's gorgeous? Ain't that true that she has round eyes, which I guess was considered ugly? Russia, you're in Russia. What you think I'm talking about her physical beauty? Is that what you're thinking of? You're checking out the looks of our Baal Sachsanya? So he threw him out of yeshiva. Apik Arba Meya Shipure. He took 400 shofars and he used the shofar to put this guy to Chayav B'Shamte. So he was so upset his Talmud should have such bad thoughts. When he's complimenting someone's cheshivas for a Talmud Chacham, this is what you're thinking about, and he threw him out of yeshiva. Kol Yom, every day, also lekamei. Rabbi Shimon Bracha's Talmud wanted to come back into yeshiva, v'lo kiblei. Rabbi Shimon Bracha rejected him, like we said, rejected him b'shtei yodam. Yom echad had a kari krishma. Once, Rabbi Shimon Bracha was in the middle of saying krishma, and that day he made up he would take the Talmud back. Shoma also lekamei. He actually was going to take him back. Achmal b'yadei. He in Israel, there's a motion to say rakarega. You go like this. He went 1 minute. He meant, I'm going to take you back, but I'm in the middle of Krishma. So the Talmud thought, the Talmud thought he was rejecting him again. He said, you know what? I don't need this anymore. Azal, he went, Zakav Levinta, he stood up a brick, and he made a getchka out of that brick, polka, and he served it. Amar lei. So Shimon Bracha said, no, Chazarbach, do tshuva. Amar lei, I'm going to quote you your own words, Rebbe. Tishev, he did Tishev, the Hizis, and he convinced people to go off the derech, v'diach, and he pushed people off derech, the Hechdi Es Yisrael. Tanya Reb Shimon Loz Reimer, Yetzer Tinuk v'Isha, the Yetzirah for his nus. Tinuk, a child, the Isha and a woman, they smoil doicha, you have to push those away, u'yamin mikareves. What does that mean? You can't push away the Yetzer and Gatzin, we need to have children. So we have to a little bit embrace that type of Tinuk. If you lose your patience with your child and you give it to him, he'll walk away. He'll say, I don't need this. So of course you have to admonish him with your left hand, but you have to bring him close, even closer with your right hand. The same thing is with the woman. You can't push her away. You have to always be makar of her, not to push her away. The Meshech Chochmah actually learns a little different of a twist in this Gemara, and he says your minion Samoil refers to your koyach hataiva versus your passion versus your rationality, your mind. So all of these things are referring to the needs that we have in the world. We have needs. We need gashmiyas to survive. We need a yitzhar to survive, but you have to meter it, not to overdo it. And therefore, you have to be doichabit smile, meaning don't let it take over you, but umakar b'yamin, use your right hand, which represents logic, sanity, rational, and that's with that control should you indulge in what needs to be indulged in from the world. What if they found the murderer before they knocked his head off? So there's no need to do the process anymore. Let it just go free. What happens if the murder was found when it was too late? It's already also bano and it's buried where it is. So when it came to be mechaper on the Sovik, Kipris Veka. At the time that it was Neraf, it did its job. What about Nerfa Ha'egla? What if the whole process was over and then they ended up finding the murderer. Hareza Yaharik. Don't think that it's machaper, and now the murderer walks free. No, the murderer still has to be prosecuted. Now, even if you didn't find the murderer, but someone says, I know who the murderer is, that's enough to say you don't do the Eglarufa. Because if anybody knows who the murderer is, that's enough to say that we do not do the process of Eglarufa. So what happened to the Eid Echad Oimer Ra'isi as a Hayrik? I saw the Hayrik, meaning we don't do the Eglarufa. But the Eid Echad, he contradicted the Eid Echad Oimer Loi Ra'isa. You didn't see, I was with you. What are you talking about? You didn't see nothing. Or Isha Meres Ra'isi, the Isha Meres Loi Ra'isi. How you arvin, it still remains a suffix, and they still did the process. Then how you arvin, because there's two Adims that saying Loi Ra'isa that are contradicting anyone who said Ra'isi. So we believe the two Adim who say that they saw the murderer. They didn't do the process. Now this is the final stretch into the end of the Masechta. When there were so many murderers, Batla Egla Rufa, we no longer do the process of Egla Rufa. One of the Svaras mentioned is because the whole purpose of Egla Rufa is when there's a suffix. But when everyone's murder is such a common thing, then we already know who the gangsters are. We might not know precisely who did this crime, but we know what's going on, so it's not enough of a suffix. It's one shot. The other shot is every time they did an Egla Rufa, they made a patch of land uninhabitable. So since there were so many Ritzchanim, they didn't want to make so many parts of Eretz Yisrael uninhabitable. So they stopped it. Mishabah Eliezer ben Dinoi, Utchina ben Perisha, these were two big tzaddikim, not Hayanikra, Hayanikra, Utchina ben Perisha, Hayanikra, he was called Utchina ben Perisha, Chazru Lekroise ben Aratzchan, eventually called him Ben Aratzchan, the murderer kid. In other words, it was already known they were main gangsters. Mr. Rabbi Menachem, taking us back to our subject matter, just in case anybody forgot, we're actually Masechah Sotah. When there were many Menachem, Pascha Mayim Amorim, the Mayim Amorim stopped working, or they not stopped working, they stopped doing the process. Part of the reason was because it stopped working because the ish was no more Naki Me'avad. Rabbi Mezakai of Sikan, Rabbi Zeichel Mezakai said stop with the Mayim Amorim. Shenemer lo efgoid al b'nai seichem. I am not going to hold your children accountable, kisses nena, when they do snus, and on your daughters-in-law when they do snus. Why? Because they're all doing snus. These were the first of the set of the first machloikis that ever happened in Klal Yisrael, like we learned in Pirkei Avos. Batlu hashkolos, a person, an eshkol is a cluster. It refers to somebody who's a Talmid Chacham, a Yerushalayim, who has it all. After they died, there was no such thing as someone who had it all. There were sveikis, which led to machloikesim. Shenemar ein eshkol lechoil b'chur oisa nafshi. There's no eshkol to eat, even though I have a tremendous longing to eat a fresh fig. Yochanan kohen gadol hever haydas meiser. We say every third year we do Vidui Maestris, the Arti HaKodesh Min HaBayis. Yochanan Kohen Gadol stopped that. Afu Batal as a Ma'orin, he stopped the practice of Ma'orin, the complainers, the Noikvim, and the knockers. The Gemara will explain what those are. Ad Yomav, until his days, Haya Patish Makabi Yerushalayim. There would be a blacksmith working in Yerushalayim on Chalamoid, doing things that were a davar of it. But after that, they stopped because they felt even if someone's doing a davar ha'avad, other people are going to think that you're allowed to do malach and chalamoid, so they stopped it. He also made a takana that you don't ask someone, did you take maestros or not? Anytime you buy from an Amoritz, you automatically have to take maestros. How do you know if first the egla was killed and then the murder was found? That it doesn't exonerate the murderer, he still has to be prosecuted. The only way to get a kapara is to kill the murderer. This sugi, we had the exact sugya in this same Masechta earlier in the Masechta, when there was a question of the aid coming to say that he saw that after Kinu she was nitmeis, and then the aid said she wasn't nitmeis. So this is exactly the same shaila. Time of the makashlei. The reason why you don't believe the aid who said I saw the hayrik is because another aid contradicts him. Haloi makashlei. What if it was just an aid echad saying I saw the hayrik? Aid echad mehemen. Unanimously. How do you know that an aid echad is mehemen to say I saw the hayrik? The Tanur Rabbanan loy noida mihiko. You only bring an egla rupa if it's unknown, nobody knows who did it. Hanoida mihiko. If it's known, afilu echad b'sayf ha'olam, even anybody, anywhere he is, if it's known, not necessarily that he's brought to justice, it's just someone knows who it is. Lo hayu arpin. How do you know if Sanhedrin saw a murder? They saw someone, they just can't identify him, but they saw the murder. You don't do egla rupa. We didn't see. If you're going to say the first aid came along, he said testimony. He believed, so now he's believed by two aidim. When another aid comes along and said you didn't see, how could he neutralize that? Said, once the first aidus was accepted, it's considered as if two aidim said it. Now the second aid who comes along later, the second aid should have no weight to contradict the first aid that we've already accepted as testimony, like two aidim. You're right. In fact, we're going to change the Lashon Mishnah. If one aid came along and said that you didn't see it, you don't listen to the second aid, because the first aid whose aidus was already accepted has already said that I saw the killer, and therefore there's no egla rupa. No, it's not true at all. How could you believe the second aid if we already accepted the aid for the first aid? When do you say the first aid was Neman? That's if his words were accepted in Bezdin. Exactly how long the Zach has to be is a Shaila. But the first aid was accepted. Now he has the status of two aidim, and another single aid can overrule him. But what if they both came at the same time? Avada, you would overrule it. So maybe our Mishnah is speaking when it was Bezach or Zah. They both came together, and therefore you don't believe the first aid more than the second aid, and therefore you are going to do the Arifa. Bezach or Zah. Tanan, let's have a kasha on this Svar of Bechia. It says in the Mishnah, Eid echad oimer ra'isi es ha'hayrik, u'shnayim oimim loy ra'isa. And the assumption is, Rashi tells us back at the beginning of Sotah, where it discusses this same Shaila, it's mashma from the Gemara, Eid echad oimer loy ra'isa, it means he came at the same time. So we're assuming this was Bavasachas. The halach is Hayu Arvin, they would do the Arifa. Now that's not a Chiddush. If it's two against one, why would it be a Chiddush? It must be that the Chiddush isn't in the actual case stated, rather the Chiddush is from what we're going to be medayik from the case. What are we going to be medayik from the case? Hachad v'chad lo hayu arfin. If it was one and one, they wouldn't do the Arifa, which means you believe the first guy. Reb Chia said if they came together, you don't believe the first guy. So you have to do Reb Chia. It's Shver Reb Chia. Sure, you brought a raya from that case. But let's look at the second case, which will be a raya to my opinion. You didn't do the Arifa. Why? Because two said Ra'inu. If it was one on one, they would do the Arifa. So if you want to make a dik from this Mishnah, it's not going to make sense anyway. So how are you going to have to learn the Mishnah? The Mishnah is not talking about two kosher eidim versus one kosher eid, where once the one kosher eid is accepted, he's nemala to eidim, elamasnizin kula b'psula eidis. The whole sugya with the two and the one are referring to women or other psula eidis, where you only go basar roy. Rav Nechemia, like the halacha that was taught to us by Rav Nechemia, Damar kol mokim shamina Torah eid echad halach achar roiv deyos. Whenever the Torah is believing in eid echad, then we'll even believe psula eidus, and you just tally up what the roiv says. They treated two women keneged a kosher eid, meaning now there's no mile of being a kosher eid anymore, according to this part of Rav Nechemia. Once we're being maimin, not regular normal eidus, then all you do is you go basar roiv deyos. And that's what this Mishnah means. V'yigadamri, that it's not exactly like that. You don't always go basar roiv deyos. It depends on who the people are. If it was an Eid Kosher that came first and we accepted as Eidos, then we do accept it like two Eidim. If you have ladies who come after it, even 100 women, they will not overrule them, like the first Nusach that we just said in Reb Nechemia. If all of them are Psula Eidos, then you'll always go Basarai. If one of them was a Kosher Eid, that's stronger than the Apostle Eid. And this is how we'll understand it. Nechemia Omer Kamakum Shemini Torah Echad Halach Acharei Deyos Vasu Shtei Nashim Be'isha Achas. If it's two women against one woman, then it's Kishnei Nashim B'Shechad. Avol Shtei Nashim B'Shechad. But if it's two women against one man who's a kosher aid, Ipalga Upalgadami, we treat it like a suffix. Period. If we're speaking of Psula Aegis, there were two cases. There was one case where two people said they saw the Hayrik, and one person said you didn't. And there was another case where one person said he saw the Hayrik, and two people said he didn't. Why did he need to say the same thing twice? It's the same limud. You go Basarai. The Tarti Psula Aegis Lamali, why did we need both cases? Now, the difference between the two cases, in one case, the Maskana is that you do the Arifa, and that's when two Eidim said that we didn't see it. And in one case, you don't do the Arifa, when two Eidim said you did see it. Why do you need both sides of the coin? Maybe when do you go basar deyos l'chumra to make an arifa? But to say that you don't make an arifa, maybe law you wouldn't follow Rav Deyos. Kamash Malon that even there you go basar deyos. Okay, we'll stop here and Beshem will be mamshach tomorrow. Not from here. We'll have to go back because I came terribly late. I'm sorry, and we'll have to catch up. I'm very happy you called. When you called.